I know this kid who caught a body in Opelika, Florida. They shot his homie in the trap he spun the block for him. He's stuck in adult jail. I see him. He tried to tuck his pride to lay it down. You see, the judge banned him with a lot of time. That means the kid is about to serve more time than he done lived. That situation makes you think like, dog, where to begin? He said his dad a real one, upstate in the pen. I said, ain't nothing real about leaving your seed to do what you did, dang. Like, why you stop playing ball? He said his grades fell off. His mother doing fraud. She chasing street. Another youngin' raised up to be a street dude. He say he get his money jacking TVs and selling weed. He like Run Boy, he like Rod Wave too. He said he felt abandoned too. Swear it's harder than Rubik's Cubes, cause when you from the bottom, it's like you living just to lose. My name is Ronnie Lillard. I go by the stage name Reconcile. I've had the privilege to work and speak in inner city slums all across America. And in my career, one of the most pervasive questions that continues to arise above all the challenges with rehabilitating troubled youth and decreasing recidivism is the idea that the majority of the efforts that we're doing are unhelpful, ineffective, and in some cases increase criminality and recidivism. When you pair that with a street culture that breeds derogatory standards of living, self-worth, it only perpetuates the slew of factors that juveniles already face. In our country, we lock up youth who succumb to their circumstances and punish them for their life choices rather than rehabilitate them and help them rise above the trauma in their life. Many questions arise. The biggest question is, are we making it worse? What's the goal? And do we really care as a society? These are the questions I have to ask myself while working the last 10 years alongside the juvenile justice system in both Broward, Miami, Houston, Texas, and even the time that I spent inside adult prisons. Juvenile law and the juvenile court have always tried to balance punitive measures with rehabilitation. However, the system has become more ineffective and punitive than rehabilitative in nature due to the portrayal of youth that are involved in violent crimes. The typecast of inner city youth as super predators has infiltrated how the general public views and thinks about kids from the inner city. When you pair that stigmatization with 10,000 rap videos of youth from the inner city holding up guns, talking about killing each other, and the frequent nightly news mugshots, the notion that follows is that the general public needs to be protected from these violent youth and that they need to be punished to the full extent of the law for what they've done. Research argues and provides that incarcerating youth may reduce crime temporarily, but it doesn't fix the problems that create criminal behavior in the first place. It doesn't fix the factors that create survival scenarios. It doesn't reconcile decades of discrimination. And it doesn't bring to light the errors in the system that deepen the problem. Furthermore, research tells us that taking a punitive approach and incarcerating youth is not even reducing crime, because these youth offenders become damaged adults and unrehabilitated members of our society who create their own webs of community strain due to their decreased life chances. However, because the juvenile justice system is seriously impeded by the quality of facilities and staff, the degree to which staff needs to be trained, the turnover, the financial emphasis and the funding is always placed primarily on those aspects of the juvenile justice system. Rehabilitative programs such as mental health, counseling, community reentry programs are underutilized because in order for them to be widespread, as they should, more funding would need to take place. And the money is being spent on maintaining the juvenile justice system, the facilities, the staff, the operation. We know that areas of poverty breed greater youth incarceration, which in turn continues to negatively affect communities in a multi-layered, unending manner, creating endless cycles of disadvantage. There's a disproportionate concentration of what we call the truly disadvantaged, which is often poor, female-headed, black and brown families with children. Youth living in poverty face unique pressures to survive in areas that lack job opportunities, financial support, mental health services, medical services, and education. Youth residing in these communities are at greater risk to commit delinquent acts to alleviate their struggle, further deepening the damage. The final product of all of this is a fragmented community full of fatherlessness, fathers unable to provide, a history of family incarceration, untreated trauma, drug abuse, low levels of education, high delinquency rates, and decreased resources and depleted resources. The presence of all these realities is what makes it easy for youth to retrogress to the behavior that got them locked up in the first place. So what are we gonna do? Today I'm gonna talk to you about an idea worth sharing. 2 solutions. Some of them novel, some successful, some of them happening right now. For starters, I recommend that the juvenile justice system engage in shifting the way that they fundamentally look at punitive and rehabilitative measures as a whole. At this point, it's understood what efforts actually work. Mental health, in the community, all-day structured programs, not a cell, not letting kids get deeper into the system. All efforts that are detrimental to a youth's life chances should be done away with. And the necessary funds should be diverted into efforts that help youth grow and change for the better. Instead of training and employing more correctional officers, the juvenile justice system should be training and employing more mentors, counselors, youth workers, community advocates. It's my recommendation to do away with formal detainment and divert youth from being detained unless their crime and history necessitates that level of involvement in the system. And those youth should have the full gamut of services that we could possibly provide to them. Why would we offer youth who are the most disadvantaged, challenged, little to no rehabilitation, poor education, and a poor effort? Youth should be diverted into community-based programs that are structured. They need structure, accountability, and a vision of something better than what they see. Which brings me to point number 2. We gotta address real needs in real time. Give a kid a meal. Talk to him. It increases exposure to positivity, mentorship. Almost half the youth being discharged from these facilities find themselves re-entering the system in some negative way, sometimes 4 months later. Consequently, we see that youth coming back into the community need more effective services to counteract the effect of criminogenic factors present in their community. The rate of reoffending is lower for youth who are diverted from the system in the first place. And kids who are high risk recidivate at a higher rate than those who have never came in the system at all. So our solution should be addressing the risk factors that contribute to a youth's downfall. How are we helping them make better decisions? How do we help them avoid neighborhood pressures? How can we help them have a hope for their situation and a better outlook for the future? How are we helping youth be employable? How are we making them emotionally stable? How are we improving their self-image or making them self-sufficient and responsible? How are we helping youth navigate the negative pressures and influences in their community and building their character and faith at the same time? I tell you what though, these kids are resilient. Oh man, they're resilient. And we can help them turn this thing around in their life. We can improve communities. We can improve public safety. But as much as we can strategize, there's this old saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Instead of blaming the juvenile system for being inadequate or mulling over the lack of funding or the mismanagement of funds, or maybe a callous judge or administrator that couldn't be more out of touch or detached from these kids, we have to look inward. The culture in our community celebrates young men for perpetuating the same behavior that costs them their lives and destroys their families. It's sad that in many cases you can even give a youth all the resources that they need for success, but they would rather pursue the lifestyle they see portrayed by a rapper like Lillard because that's attainable. We have for too long tolerated the ideas, music, behavior, self-images that bring our community and young men to a state of degradation, despair, brokenness, and destruction. As we challenge to fight for a better system, may we also challenge our parenting, our passiveness, our choice in music and entertainment, the behavior that we deem appropriate, and our own willingness to do whatever it takes to change and save troubled youth. I tell the youth and the kids in the detention all the time, I say for every one NBA young boy, or for every one Kodak Black, it's 10,000 of y'all up in here, man. Let me tell you a story. I visit detention centers to talk to kids in juvie. I tell them about my cousin, my brother. I tell them about my crazy life. Tell them how my life changed when I accepted Christ. Romans 3:23, yeah, we all need a Savior. John 3:16, God sent his son to save you. So no matter what you've done, yeah, you can be redeemed. I asked him for his forgiveness. His blood can make you clean. This young man from the front row, he started crying. He hit his knees. He said, I felt that in my heart. Hey, could you pray for me? So he walked over, him and his partner too. I said, you want to accept Christ in your heart? He said, yeah, I do. Look how the Lord moves. Look how the storms brew. Peep how the blood soothes. Wisest men to plumb fools. I came home so touched. My heart moved. Turned on the television, saw murder on the news. A dude same age as me got murdered for his chain and some shoes. And he left his daughter behind. They cried blues. I went to turn the television off and they showed the two teens. And it was the same two dudes that I had just prayed for. I asked myself, how many times have we failed them before they failed this far? And what can be done before more life is lost? So to recap, address their real needs through diversion. How can we help youth before they enter the system? Then, if they do enter the system, address their real needs when they're released, the trauma, the social, financial, educational, and relational needs. Spend money on rehabilitating youth versus just building a callous institution that we call the juvenile justice system. Expand mental health efforts, building stronger behavior skills for these kids, strengthening faith-based services, introducing positive influences and people into their life, and advocacy and mentoring, strengthening the family and developing family plans in their time of crisis and after their release. Challenging our culture, the culture of degradation, the music, the videos, the self-image, and bringing faith, God, and Jesus back into our communities. We need churches to stay involved. We need individuals to challenge their own capacity to care. And for all of those in the juvenile justice system, fighting to make it better and make it different. Keep fighting a good fight. That's my time. God bless y'all. Fort Myers, 3rd Ward, Miami.